This is Coach Lee, and you're listening to The Door Report.
Yo, look at this. Do a flip!
Welcome back into The Door Report and welcome into episode 331 on a lovely Tuesday evening, September 2nd, 2025. I am Will Byrum, joined as always by my co-host Trevor Hulan, aka Hack Squad Jim Duggan. We are also joined on the table here by our producer Phoebe, who has been very talkative and very loud during the pre-podcast recording discussions. So we'll see if she keeps that up or calms down. But here at the Door Report, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include NFL team packs, graded cards, individual cards, and more. Shipping is always fast and free. Before we get into anything else with this Charleston Southern recap, as well as the Virginia Tech preview, we also have an ad read. If you guys have listened to the last few episodes, you know what's coming up for Rowback. I'm actually not rocking a Rowback polo this time. I've got to wash them as I need to do laundry, but I did rock the Rowback polo during the Lot 2 tailgate as well as during the Charleston Southern game. Seems to have some good juju attached to it.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Rowback in Lot 2 and in FirstBank Stadium. A whole lot of Rowback.
A lot of Rowback, but Rowback activewear. There's only one way to describe Rowback. Best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rowback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rowback has released so many items within their newly licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and quarter zip designs for some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these levels of custom designs with the quality of activewear. Rowback's everyday shorts or their Delta performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They are both super comfortable, have an elastic waistband, and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move for all your drinking activities or whatever out there. Perfect pants. Rowback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. You can use code VAN20, that is VAN20, VAN20, no spaces, all capitals, on rowback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That is spelled Rowback, RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with code VAN20, VAN20. Trevor, we have a beefy episode to get into. We're going to try to make these episodes during football season between an hour to an hour and a half. We have a tendency to be long-winded. We will see if that comes to fruition. We're going to try to keep this one in the hour and a half range. We are going to do our best, but here at TDR, we like to talk quite a bit, so we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Yeah, subject to change, of course. But as we have noted, as our listeners are well aware, anytime we say we are trying to limit ourselves to about a specific time range, almost always go over that. I mean, I can't say how many times we've said, hey, we're going to shoot for 45, 50 minutes, and it's hour and a half. So who knows?
Yeah, here in the intro, I want to just address a couple things that were fantastic. I want to talk about the Lot 2 tailgate real quick.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody that showed up, showed out. Shout out to Miller McKee, Chef Miller, for helping us set all that up. spending countless hours on the grill cooking up food. We will have more waters, Diet Cokes, and Sprites. The non-alcoholic beverages went very quickly.
Yeah.
So we are slowly tuning up and getting into game speed here at TDR for our tailgate. But thank you to everybody that came out and met us. It was an awesome time out there. There's also been a little bit of news that I want to get out before segment 1 that really just came across the news feed like earlier today. That is Langston Patterson and Issa Wataha, as well as someone else that I didn't see mentioned, CJ Taylor.
Yes.
Are suing the NCAA for an additional year of eligibility.
And you say earlier today, and by earlier today, you mean about an hour ago.
Yeah, a couple hours ago, not too long at all. George Barclay, who has done a deep dive into a lot of these NIL/eligibility lawsuits, is going to be diving into this and writing a premium lawyer's perspective article on this. Anything that me or Trevor say about this right now is going to be pure speculation.
Yeah.
No expertise. And George is going to, I don't want to form an opinion on this before I read what George has to say.
I'm in the same boat. We talked about this before the pod. I'm excited about the prospect of these guys coming back, but I am not comfortable giving any sort of opinion or analysis until George gives his legal opinion. So we're just waiting on George. He'll have it shortly. And God, anything legal, he's been absolutely killing it.
King George's reign continues.
King George of Boston.
But we have a ton to get to. Segment 1 is going to be the Charleston Southern recap, me and Trevor's 3 key takeaways, as well as some premium message board questions. Then we will go to the TDR cocktail break. Then we have the Virginia Tech preview, our 3 keys to the game, as well as our predictions, and then some premium message board questions that apply to the Virginia Tech game. But before we get into all that and much more, we are now a part of the On3 Publisher Network. Visit thedoreport.com today and subscribe to a monthly or annual premium membership and support TDR for access to premium content and our premium message board behind closed doors. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes. It's now time for segment 1.
Club, are you answering?
I can't hear.
We can't hear you.
There's too much money in my fucking hand.
Welcome back into episode 331 of The Door Report, and welcome in to segment 1. Trevor, to start out segment 1, we have a very fun and calm game to recap.
Yeah, no drama at all.
No drama. A 45-3 victory for the Vanderbilt Commodores over the Charleston Southern Buccaneers. Yeah, it's Buccaneers. I just second-guessed myself severely, even though I've wrote about them the last 2 weeks. Vanderbilt, to put it lightly, dominant the entirety of the game. The talent discrepancy was massive. It was obvious who the better team was. Vanderbilt got the ball in the opening kick, drove down 8 plays, 75 yards, 4 passes, 4 rushes, a jet sweep to Caleb Barnett, topped things off for a 7-0 lead to start things off. And Vanderbilt never looked back. Just dominant from start to finish. Usually we do kind of more a possession by possession breakdown recap of the game. I don't think there's a huge point in that. Vanderbilt was just dominant.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt pulled their starters halfway through the 3rd quarter after going up 35-0. And you saw a lot of second team guys and rotational guys on offense and defense the remainder of the game, which is how Charleston Southern got their 3 points. They drove down on Vanderbilt's 2nd/3rd team defense and decided to cowardly kick a field goal with 7 seconds remaining to get the goose egg off the scoreboard. So I'm just going to dive straight into stats here. Vanderbilt's defense allowed Charleston Southern to throw the ball for 88 total yards on 10 of 19 passing. Charleston Southern ran the ball 27 times for 47 yards, an average of 1.7 yards per carry. On the offensive side of things, Diego Pavia was sharp. Diego Pavia, 20 of 25 for 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, also 8 carries for 44 yards. On the ground, Cedric Alexander, who got the game ball of the week, week 1 was given to him. Cedric Alexander, 12 carries for 83 yards, as well as 1 catch for 26 yards and a touchdown, which was probably the highlight of the day.
Yeah, great
that
catch.
Cedric Alexander catch. Great pass, great catch by Cedric Alexander. That's a hell of a catch by your running back.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just that, I understand it's a great catch for anybody. But
Yeah.
for your running back coming out of the backfield, we talked about that going into the season, that it looked like Seti had improved pass catching out of the backfield.
Yeah.
He proved it week 1.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's got some real weapons in the backfield, it appears. Shout out to Cole Kublik saying that Cedric Alexander is the most underrated player in the SEC.
Shout out. James L. Laster was actually the second leading rusher with 1 carry for 35 yards and 1 touchdown. Awesome to see him get on the field. One of those Camp Warrior guys that you see just beat his head into a brick wall over and over. And you're like, this guy's probably not going to see the field. Awesome to see him go out there and actually show what he can do and get an explosive highlight play.
Yeah, you love to see the walk-ons get touchdowns.
Which also, I pointed out in my 3 key takeaway, or I did more than 3, but key takeaways article. That would have been the longest rush by a running back all season last year for the Vanderbilt Commodores. So awesome. They didn't quite have a rush of 40-plus yards that I had in my 3 keys to the game. I was also expecting it to be somebody other than James L. Laster, to be honest, but they did have 1 quite explosive run, and it was from Laster. That was awesome to see. MK Young, 3 carries for 19 yards, as well as his first touchdown as a Commodore, very lightly used, which you would kind of expect in this game. Blaze Berlowitz came in late in the game, did not look great, to be honest. 1 of 3 for 5 yards, as well as 2 carries for 13 yards. He looked like a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, they weren't trying to do much with him, but
No.
he looked like the Blaze Berlowitz that we saw all of camp.
Yeah, Vanderbilt took the lead early, and that second half, they sort of sat on it. It felt like a name-your-score type of game.
It was. A.J. Newberry, 2 carries for 2 yards. One of those was in a beautiful pistol full house option play, whatever you want to call that formation. A.J. Newberry got into the end zone for a touchdown. All 3 of the 3-headed monster of running backs got in the end zone for a score.
Yeah.
That was cool to see.
We want to say the 4-headed monster with Lassiter?
Yeah, we can call it the 4-headed monster. Shout out to Lassiter. That was awesome. Tristan Brown, 1 carry for 2 yards. Gabe Fields, 1 carry for 2 yards. Trey Richardson, 1 carry for 1 yard. On to the receiving side of things, the leading pass catcher in receptions for Vanderbilt was Trey Richardson. 5 catches for 74 yards. I don't want to get too into keys because we are going to do our keys to get key takeaways from the game. But let's talk about Trey Richardson for a second. All build up to this season, we constantly talked about Trey Richardson showing out in camp, that he was electric with his speed, his quickness, his explosive playmaking capability. What I did not know was whether or not he was going to be truly utilized as a pass catcher, like a true wide receiver, running the route tree, making those contested catches, or if he was just going to be a gadget play guy.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing, but I could see it going both ways. From what we saw this Saturday, Trey Richardson is a true wide receiver and a true difference maker.
Trey Richardson, and I don't want to make any assumptions just off a small sample size, but based off that game, it seems like Trey Richardson is the number 2 wide receiver. And to go into your point, I totally agree. I don't think he's just a gadget player. I think he's a legitimate wide receiver. And I think he's one of those guys that by any means necessary, whether it's reverse passes, jet sweeps, handing it off, throwing, you need to get him the ball however you can because he's absolutely electric with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, the one play that sticks out, he had a couple contested catches that were phenomenal.
Yeah.
That he can go over the middle, catch those passes in between defenders. He's not just an outside receiver, but there was one quick out route that he ran where 2 guys had him locked down, looked like he had nowhere to go, shrugged off one of the would-be tacklers, and then made and it is FCS, it is Charleston Southern, but made a Division I college football athlete simply look silly.
Yeah, made him drop his pants.
I mean, he picked up the first down on what should have been best case a 4-yard gain, and he gained 11.
Yeah.
That is what Trey Richardson showed us all camp, and it's nice to see that translate to a Saturday, even if it is against an FCS opponent.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to be a real weapon, man. It's like you said, not just on the outside and near the boundary, but if you want to line him up inside, a little split end action and match him up with a backer or safety, I mean, Lord have mercy. Nobody will be able to cover him.
It's true. Speaking of guys that nobody can cover, Eli Stowers looked like Eli Stowers, played relatively limited snaps, but 4 catches for 86 yards, including a 41-yard reception down the sideline. Junior Sherrill, 3 catches, 33 yards, and a big-time touchdown on a slant route, shrugging a defender off of him.
Looks like that added weight was working out.
Caleb,
small sample size,
but it does.
Yeah.
Caleb Barnett, a guy that we saw play a lot during camp, but I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I did not expect him to be utilized.
I'm right there with you, brother.
That was one of the most shocking utilizations of a player that I saw all game. We expected it and saw it coming out of Trey Richardson.
Yeah.
Caleb Barnett, I thought, was just kind of a placeholder guy out there. And no, they utilized him from the first snap. He had the first touchdown of the season. Caleb Barnett, 3 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown. Looks like he is going to be a gadget guy for this offense.
I get it. I'm with you. He's very, very small, but in a league that's built around speed, as quick as he is, I don't know how you keep him off the field.
It's awesome to see a freshman coming out there, shifty, quick. Not necessarily the straight line speed of Trey Richardson, but very shifty and very quick. Martell Height, we saw him quite a bit on offense. 2 catches for 17 yards. Richie Hoskins, 2 catches for 9 yards, and a damn shame. Richie Hoskins should have had a 43-yard touchdown reception that was taken off the board. By the way, they called a hold on Bryce Henderson.
That was not a hold.
I have gone back. I watched it 10 times. My dad watched it 10 times. He sent me a video zoomed in on Bryce Henderson. I still don't understand how that was a holding call.
Well, did you see Blake's text message? Blake went back and reviewed the offensive line today, and he posted some thoughts on Twitter. And he went back and he said a couple of these holdings are kind of horseshit. And he really mentioned the Bryce Henderson hold that negated that touchdown. He's like, that is not a hold.
You see it. I actually texted somebody and said you see it a lot in basketball, but really the sport you see it the most in is when a team is struggling in baseball. When a guy is struggling to find the strike zone, that ump and they're losing, 9-0, 11-0. The ump has a tendency to expand that strike zone for the team that's losing. That's what I felt like the referees were doing for Charleston Southern, is they were getting bullied on the line of scrimmage. And at that point, the refs were throwing the most ticky-tack flags. That felt to me like the old adage that is, by the letter of the law, you can call holding on every single play. Those were not holdings that were like egregious or anything, especially the one that called back that 43-yard touchdown pass to Richie. That's one that I feel bad for Richie. Like, that should be a highlight play on his career highlight tape after he graduates. And unfortunately, it's not, because a referee just wanted to hear himself speak, I guess.
And I'm glad that's your opinion as well, because I am much more biased whenever it comes to Vanderbilt athletics. But I went back and I watched those holds, and I think there was one on Glass that I think was a justifiable hold. A couple of those others, I was like, I don't know if I'm looking at this through gold-colored glasses, but these do not feel like egregious holds to me.
I think there was one hold on Glass that was legit. I can't remember the timestamp, but there were a couple holds that it felt like in Power 4 competition
are not getting called.
Like, they're just not. It was refs looking for something to call without a doubt. Bryson Coleman, 1 catch for 5 yards late in the game. Nice to see him actually out in the field and get his first career catch as a Vanderbilt Commodore. On the defensive side of things, Bryce Cowan led the team in tackles. Guy we've been talking about all camp, 5 total tackles. Martell Height and Jamison Curtis, who played quite a bit later in the game, both with 4 total tackles each. Carson Lawrence, Miles Capers, both with 3 tackles. Carson Lawrence played quite a bit later in the game. A bunch of guys with 2 and 1 tackles. There was a lot of rotation on the defensive side of the ball. I really don't think, outside of maybe the first couple drives, you really saw this first-team defense altogether. I think they were wanting to get a lot of guys, a lot of reps, and see some weird personnel situations. I think is how Vanderbilt handled it. Miles Capers was so disruptive. His stats do not do him justice. Miles Capers was everywhere. So was Corday Sidnor. Those guys were they made life a living hell for Charleston Southern's quarterback, Sultan Osborne. He could not get a pass past the line of scrimmage for a large period of that game, because those guys were just immediately in his face batting the ball down. Vanderbilt as a team had 3 total sacks, 6 total tackles for loss. Miles Capers was responsible for 2 of those tackles for loss, as well as 1 sack. Hayden Bray with a sack, and Zaylen Wood with a sack.
Felt good to see Zaylen Wood get a sack after what he went through last season. Felt real good to see him get out there and get a sack.
We also saw Brock Taylor go 1 for 1 on a 35-yard field goal. We saw a couple punts from Nick Haber, not much as you would expect. One of them was a little too much into the end zone. One of them was a beautifully placed punt. So I'm very confident in Haber. We were pretty confident coming from fall camp that he was going to step in. It was just you were comparing him to Hayball and Mirko, which is a high bar. First team All-SEC punters. So I was like, whenever I did the preview and said he's going to be a step back from those guys, that means he might be a second or third team as all SEC guy.
Yeah.
That was all I was saying.
Mhm.
He's still a damn good punter. Got that Aussie blood.
Oh, dude. Aussie.
But the or actually there were 2 turnovers forced by the defense, were
Mhm.
there not? 1 interception from FAU transfer CJ Hurd,
Your
the
boy.
Sea Snake, my boy.
The sea
Snake. Great. Did you see he had Sea Snake written across his nose tape?
Also, I started this
gloves.
whenever he got the pick. I just started doing this, and everybody started doing this. So from now on, all of you who are watching on YouTube, Sea Snake played Sea Snake.
I also heard people all around me being like, "Look at that guy's hair. Who is that?" And I was like, I kept turning, but that's the Sea Snake.
That's the Sea Snake.
That's CJ
baby.
Hurd.
You better learn today.
Listen to the door report, and you will hear me glaze him constantly. But that was just. No offense to CJ Hurd. That was a horrible pass by Zoltan Osborne. The entire game, legitimately, and I know it's a bad FCS program, I kept thinking, is this truly the best option at quarterback that they have? And that Zoltan Osborne guy, he looked terrified out there. He was just like one read and throwing the ball into the dirt. That was all he could do. Granted, Vanderbilt forced a lot of that.
It looked like Nate Johnson.
Yeah, he looked terrified. As he should against this Vanderbilt defense.
Yeah.
Corday Sidnor with a recovered fumble as well. So Vanderbilt forced 2 turnovers with no turnovers of their own.
Mhm.
Overall, we'll get to our 3 key takeaways here because there's no reason to just go over this stuff constantly. Vanderbilt just dominated.
Yep.
It was exactly what we wanted to see. So do you want to dive into our 3 key takeaways or anything else you want to add on?
Yeah, I'll go into my first key takeaway. Ooh,
Actually,
sorry.
we forgot. I forgot to mention it before we get to key takeaways. The crowd.
Oh my word!
We didn't even talk about it. The crowd. Shout out to Vanderbilt fans. Shout out to Commodore Nation. People can clown this. I don't give a shit. I have never been in an environment like that inside of Vanderbilt's football stadium.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean it was the most raucous environment I've ever been a part of. Vanderbilt has had more raucous environments.
Mhm.
But it's always been, there have been quite a few opposing fans in there. It wasn't the loudest because Vanderbilt dominated from beginning to end. By the middle of the third quarter, about 60% of the crowd had left because it was just a complete blowout. But first quarter, that stadium was packed. It was 95% full, a sold-out crowd. Even on the visiting side, the last couple little sections had some spotted fans up there, but it wasn't completely packed out. It was 90 to 95% full, and it was 98%, 99% Vanderbilt fans there. Something that I truly just didn't think was possible.
Yeah, sorry. My mom had just called me, so I was just texting her from my watch saying, "Hey, I'm recording the pod right now. I hope it's nothing serious." But yeah, that crowd, I totally agree with everything you said. And walking into that stadium and seeing it fill up and seeing the interaction from the crowd and how it was just jam-packed with Vanderbilt fans, I was damn proud to be a Vanderbilt fan in that moment.
It felt like the celebration, as I wrote in my takeaways article, it felt like the celebration of what last season was, that these players deserved and these fans wanted and deserved. And it actually came to fruition in front of our eyes. So there have been plenty of clown posts about Vanderbilt's football attendance and the number of fans. None this week.
No.
None this week.
Yep. Also, too, with the crowd in the stadium finally done, that place looked gorgeous. I walked in with my parents and my girl, and I said, seeing this finally done with people actually sitting in it felt surreal.
Yeah, and the complete thing is not even fully done. So the outside is not 100% done. There are still some small additions they want to make to the concourse area and things of that nature. So it's 95% done, but the completed project is just going to look absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
I will say a couple small criticisms because I know there are some people from Vanderbilt that listen to this. This is not me shitting on anything. The overall game day environment was great. There were a couple things that did stick out. Number one, I've been at fall camp inside of FirstBank. They had the speakers lowered and the bass lowered.
Yeah.
The music was very oddly quiet.
I agree.
While the PA system was very loud. I know it has capability of being much louder because I've heard it.
Yeah.
It was turned down for some reason. I don't understand
Crank
why.
that sucker up,
Crank
Andy.
the music up. Crank the bass up. It was very, very, very quiet.
Yeah.
Also, I know it's the first run through. Everybody's getting in rhythm, just like we're getting in rhythm covering everything. But the replays, guys, we got to have replays of key plays. It was repeatedly times of key catches, fumbles, different things that happened, and Vanderbilt just never showed a replay.
Yeah.
On the Jumbotron. Somebody has to be in charge of that, and whoever was in charge of that, either get in rhythm or get somebody else in charge of it. Because I see constantly, I've been to other stadiums, that was JV, what they had going on. And if this was a key game, there would be opposing fans being like, who's running this, a high schooler? So I'm not trying to be overly critical, but you got to show replays of key plays in the game. I don't know how that didn't happen. It was just they would show the play live and then nothing. Yeah. They would just show animation. So those are the only two criticisms of an otherwise incredible environment.
I do have one criticism, and then we'll keep going. I think you share this criticism, and I know a lot of other Vanderbilt fans share this criticism. It does not have to do with anything inside of FirstBank. The parking situation in the lot. Vanderbilt, you have to revise this. PMC parking, we tried to get there early. That was not necessarily a nightmare dealing with them, but having to explain to them that we were setting up for a tailgate and having to let them, or having to tell them that we need to do this and then being like, no, you don't, was frustrating as hell. Second off, I know in the rules you put in this year, no RVs, no trailers allowed. For the first time in my lifetime, Vanderbilt is starting to get viewed as a serious football school. I'm not saying this because we run a serious tailgate, but fans love to tailgate, and SEC programs love to tailgate. You need to tell PMC to chill the hell out, let people set up early, let people in the lots earlier than 8 o'clock, and you need to let fans bring in RVs and trailers so that we can have serious tailgate setups. What we had to do to get PMC to convince us to let them let us set up was absolutely ridiculous. They wouldn't let me drop. So I was going to be like, can I just drop it off and I'll go somewhere else? They're going to be like, no, you can't drop it off. So what am I going to do? Have 100 cheeseburgers in the back of my car? And eventually I was like, I'm going to drop these off. Vanderbilt, you need to have a talk with them.
Yeah, you've got to talk with them. For the first time, you have juice. And of course, Vanderbilt decides to corporatize things more.
Yes.
And I get that that might be required because you have more interest. You have more people buying parking passes. So you can't take the risk of students allowing people in that don't have real parking passes. I get that. Understandable. However, if you open up the lots at 8 a.m., I get it. We're a little crazy. But you open up lots at 8 a.m. If we're going to have a tailgate set up, it takes us an hour and a half at minimum to get our tailgate set up.
We have 5 people setting up a tailgate.
I got there at about 7:15 a.m. and had to argue with a person saying, no, you cannot come in until 8. I said, I have ice sitting in the back of my car in coolers. I need to get out of my car. I have food. I have drinks that I need to start chilling. We're going to have people really in full start showing up around 10 a.m. And we did.
Yeah.
And thank God we argued our way in, as they were like, well, who told you could do this? They've never been open before 8 a.m. And I said, I've been doing this for years.
Brother, we would get here at 6 a.m.
The frustration I had with PMC is like they were lying to me.
They also told us, hey, this little grassy area, this isn't lot 2. You can't tailgate here. And we were like, buddy, we've been tailgating here for years. This is our spot.
That was pretty funny because they said, hey, you guys are going to have to move your setup. This is lot 1 grass. And I literally just said no.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, you have to move. This is lot 1 grass. That over there is lot 2. And I said, all right, then call the Vanderbilt police. We're not moving. The Vanderbilt marching band literally adjusted their route to come by our tailgate consistently. And I don't like being the person that's like, I don't know if you know who we are.
We were very close to being like, we can call somebody right now.
Yeah, they were almost taking this, well, you guys clearly don't understand. I'm like, I guarantee I know more about this process and know more people within Vanderbilt athletics than you do.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you that, PMC parking lady, but it was very frustrating. So just chill out.
Yeah.
That's it. If you have parking passes, and it's not like there was a giant rush of people trying to get in there that early. It's clearly just people trying to set up their tailgates.
Yeah.
Just slightly look the other way. You can still scan the passes. You had people set up outside. We weren't doing anything raucous. We just wanted to get drinks cooled down.
Yeah.
And get
set up
tables
tables.
set up and get tables set up with tablecloths. So that was the only small complaints we had. Otherwise, an incredible game day environment. Thank you to everybody that came out there in lot 2. All right, now time to get to our 3 key takeaways of the game. So, Trevor, you were already getting into your key takeaway number 1 before I interrupted you.
No, you're all good because we need to get that out the way. I totally forgot about how mad the parking situation. Those people pissed me off. But My key takeaway number 1 isn't really a positive one. It's actually kind of a little bit of a negative one. I get it, running is part of his game. Believe me, I know Diego Pavia runs like that. He was born to run through people. I hated watching him take hits against Charleston Southern. That was like every time he did it, I was, God, Diego, like, I know my beautiful boy. I know this is what you were born and bred to do, but like, not tonight. That was my key takeaway number 1.
Yeah, I didn't get frustrated as much at the scrambling he decided to do. I get that. There were a couple play calls, maybe like 4 or 5 play calls I didn't like. And there was one in particular that was like a QB power.
Right up the middle.
That they specifically
Right
called
up
him
the
like,
A-gap.
buddy, just keep Tim Beck, just keep that one in your pocket. We don't need that today. There's no reason to rep that one today.
We know he can run
And
it.
then I really did. That was a beautiful play that scored a touchdown from 2 yards away with Newberry. But do we really need to run an option that guarantees Pavia is going to take a hit on the pitch? Do we really need to do that at the 2-yard line against Charleston Southern?
Yeah.
Just, guys,
Let's
so
just
that's
chill out for a second. I'm willing to give up those 2 touchdowns if it meant Diego Pavia doesn't get hit.
Yeah.
That's okay.
These next 2 games, completely for the rest of the season.
For the rest of the season, run them.
Different than
Let that boy run.
This week against Charleston Southern, that did frustrate me a bit, and it gave my dad almost an aneurysm. He was ranting about that. My key takeaway number 1 is a little bit boring, just like Vanderbilt's offense was a little boring. It's Vanderbilt kept it vanilla.
Ooh, yeah.
That is the most positive plus green flag takeaway that I can say. And I'm sure we have premium message board questions regarding this, but Vanderbilt kept it so vanilla. They didn't show anything and still effortlessly moved it up and down the field against Charleston Southern. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you wanted to see. Vanderbilt just came out, bullied their opponent, didn't use any weird flash in the pan, gadget play type stuff, and just ran basics. It was all on film from last year. Everything they ran this year was exactly what they ran last year, and they kept it really basic. So that's my key takeaway number 1.
Well, and I'm going to piggyback off you because we had similar key takeaways, but I'm going to go to the defense. Not only did they keep it vanilla on offense, they also kept it very vanilla on defense. So I went back and looked. They almost exclusively ran like a 2-man shell, 2-man high shell. Did not do any like weird coffee shop delayed blitzes, any sim pressures, a couple of stunts, but nothing crazy. Like on defense, it was kind of like, okay, we're going to run 2 high. We're going to send 4 and just try and beat it. And so even on defense, I thought they kept it very vanilla. There's no like single high, no nothing funky. I appreciate that as well.
That's what you want to see. That's what we talked about in the preview.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted to see. My key takeaway number 2 is Pavia was sharp. There were 2 throws he threw the ball 25 times. He was 20 of 25. There were 2 not great throws from Pavia the entire game. One of them was a route to MK Young where MK had a step on the defender. Pavia overthrew him by a yard. Totally understandable. You're going to miss a throw or 2. The only other throw that you could even say was bad from Pavia, he was really late on a throw to the outside on his like 3rd read and almost threw an interception. And I think it is an interception against better competition. But Pavia was sharp. He was everything you wanted to see. Granted, it's not against good competition, but he threw a couple balls that were just beautiful.
Yeah.
That one to Stowers down the sideline was exactly where you want it. That one to Seti was a great catch, but a perfect throw. Just sharp the entirety of the game. Putting the ball exactly where he wanted. So pretty damn good for a quarterback that throws like a high schooler is all I will say. What's your key takeaway number 3?
Yeah, my key takeaway number 3 is I was very impressed with what I saw from the running game and from the running backs. Like you said, no real explosive plays outside of Lassiter, but man, they got I forget exactly, and you might have the stats right in front of you. I forget what the average was, but I think Cedric Alexander rushed for about 5 yards a carry.
6.9.
Okay, so 7 yards a carry. I know MK Young on his limited carries ran for over 5 yards.
6.3.
6.3. And so I thought the run game was fantastic. I'm not going to make any assumptions about the run game moving forward necessarily based on that because, as we've mentioned, limited sample size against a much more inferior opponent. But that's what you want to see whenever you play an inferior opponent. You want to see your team run it down their throat effortlessly, and they did.
Vanderbilt looked like an SEC team against an FCS opponent.
Mm-hmm.
They were so clearly leagues above that opponent. And for years, during the Derek Mason era, during the early part of the Clark Lee administration, that wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
It was dominant. People forget, and Charleston Southern's gone down a bit, but the last time Vanderbilt played Charleston Southern, they won 21-20.
Mm-hmm.
People can glaze over or graze over, whatever the correct phrase is, how dominant this victory was. Oh, it's just Vanderbilt beating an FCS opponent. That's a credit to how far this team has progressed talent-wise, is that they can just line up the football and beat the shit out of them.
I mean, it was 2 years ago that Vanderbilt was struggling against Elon to open the season.
Yep.
You remember that?
That was just 2 years ago.
Just 2 years ago.
I have two here because I really thought you were going to take one of these. So I'm going to say both. My third key takeaway is the offensive line is good. What played well was good, but there's plenty to clean up.
Mm-hmm.
And pass pro left something to be desired.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they blocked really well in the run game. They were opening up giant holes for the running backs, which attributes to those yards per carry averages that we saw. The pass pro, for me, a little too much pressure in Pavia's face consistently.
I totally agree.
Now, that's going to be part of it, but yeah, a little too much pressure. And you're facing a defensive line that's built around quickness and not size. It's a different type of defensive line than you're going to see, which is going to contribute to some of those holding calls you saw. But yeah, the offensive line, it's not a red flag or anything. I think it was mostly new faces, communication issues, things of that nature. But the pass pro left a little bit to be desired. And my fourth key takeaway, even though we're not doing that, is just simply the defense was suffocating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to – we've talked a lot about the offense. The defense was just suffocating. If they would have left the starters in and kept the foot on the gas, I think they could have held Charleston Southern to under 100 yards of total offense during that game.
Mm-hmm.
Charleston Southern ended up having 135 total yards of offense, but the defense, they couldn't even get a pass across the line of scrimmage. Incredible job by the defense. So those are me and Trevor's three key takeaways. We are going to see if we have any premium message board questions related to the Charleston Southern game. Anything else you want to add on here about what I just said?
No, other than, yeah, it's like we said, I don't really have any like grand takeaways from this game.
So we do have a few related questions to the recap. I think that it's kind of a 50-50 split between the upcoming matchup against Virginia Tech, which we will hit on after the TDR cocktail break, and then this Charleston Southern game. First up, we have from VandyFan95. We've already kind of talked about this. How vanilla did we keep our offensive and defensive play calling? Should we expect a more open playbook next week?
It was whiter than vanilla. I don't know what's more white than vanilla. But
it was unflavored ice cream.
It was unflavored. Yeah, I think that's a good analogy. It was unflavored ice cream.
It was a woman's chicken from Nebraska, from the suburbs of Nebraska level of no taste.
Some rich white lady that lives in the suburbs of Chicago making chicken. That's how bland it was.
She didn't even use salt and pepper. It was olive oil and some carrots and celery.
Not even sure she used olive oil. Yeah. She used I don't know, whatever these seed oil haters use. Not even that
avocado.
tallow.
No, olive oil is not a seed.
No, but I'm trying to think of like something super bland. Yeah, that's just like, I don't know. She probably just like
avocado oil.
Spit on it. It's like, here you go. This is good. Pause.
That was a
spit on that chicken.
Spit on that chicken. Spit on that thing. Jesus, I hate that I said that.
If I get famous off that, I promise I won't crypto run for anybody.
We might.
Don't
Dude, do you remember when that happened and I put something out that said, next up, TDR coin? I had multiple people DM me be like, please don't do this. And I was like, you think we're really releasing a TDR coin? We might, bitch.
Yeah, dude. On three's got me feeling a little risky.
On three would definitely drop us immediately.
Our contract will be terminated on site.
From World's Strongest Vandy Fan, this is actually funny and something I wanted to talk about. When does Derek Mason recruit the women's soccer team to try and save his job again? Derek Mason.
Go Govs! My Austin P. Govs get the big win. First win against an FBS opponent since 1987 Kansas State. Go Govs! Gov up! Let's go P!
So they already released the thing during the offseason, which was hell for Derek Mason. That MTSU was only going to use 2 uniforms this season and 1 helmet. which for a man like Derek Mason, that has to be a living hell. However,
Can't use gray at all. Just
There's-
blue and white.
there's a difference between losing to an FCS opponent, and then Vanderbilt's not a stranger to this. It's what happened to them with ETSU in 2021. Middle Tennessee got obliterated by Austin Peay. 34-14 was the final score. And thankfully for Derek Mason, it gets a lot easier next week. They go on the road to Wisconsin. So, yeah, Derek Mason's tenure in Murfreesboro might be a short-lived tenure, even though I actually thought he would do well there. But obviously he's just a bad coach.
Yeah. Hey, if there are any Middle Tennessee diehard football fans out there, I don't know if they exist or not. But yeah, you're just enjoy living my previous hell. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to say bad. I will add on programs like MTSU are in a bad spot.
Yeah.
They're in a really bad spot because
They're one of those teams that don't have a bright future.
yeah, on top of everything else. And the funny part is MTSU, I believe, is the largest university in the state of Tennessee by enrollment. But
no, the University of Tennessee
is it
still
bigger?
Yeah,
Okay.
University of Tennessee has like 40,000.
let me look.
I believe it's the University of Tennessee is the largest because they've been getting an influx of all those Yanks who want to come to an SEC school and come down south and cosplay as cowboys and
You're right.
Southerners.
MTSU is like going back and forth with Memphis with about 20 to 21,000. Yeah, Tennessee's way bigger. I was wrong.
It's just all those Yanks that want to come
But
down
on
here.
top of everything, Tennessee, the state of Tennessee, is not a recruiting hotbed, and you are sandwiched between You're an SEC country to begin with. You're sandwiched between Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Memphis, the state of Alabama, the state of Mississippi. You're in hell.
Georgia's real close.
I mean, and you have a ton of other FBS programs around you as well that are not Power 4. I mean,
UTC?
MTSU is in trouble.
Yeah.
MTSU is in trouble. And it's maybe not a full indictment of Derek Mason. They're one of those programs that's going to get left in the dust because they just don't. People joke about Vanderbilt having no fans and no support. MTSU is truly one of those programs. Like they just don't have any support. Like their graduates are fans of other programs. They have no sidewalk fans.
No.
That doesn't exist for them. They're in a tough spot.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we
Hey,
got.
but go Govs.
Yeah, shout out to your boys.
Shout out to my boys, my Govs.
Also, I believe I saw Old Tennessee Tech, my Golden Eagles, I believe are ranked number 17 in the country.
Dude,
They're
look at
going to
us,
come
man.
up. New stadium.
Look at us.
Tennessee Tech's building a new stadium as well. Have construction on half of it going on right now during the season.
Could you imagine playing football at a stadium that's an active construction site
Couldn't
like
be,
Mizzou
man.
or Tennessee Tech?
Couldn't
I
be, man.
could not imagine.
Bex4VU, this is a really good question. Says, any surprises from what you saw Saturday night versus your expectations from fall camp, good and bad? Individuals, position groups, play calling, etc.
The only one for me is the usage of Caleb Barnett. Other than that, I did not think that any position group or any side of the ball really overperformed or underperformed. I think the only surprise I had was the usage of Caleb Barnett, unless I'm missing something.
Caleb Barnett, as well as not even a surprise. I'll say it like a pleasant surprise of how much Trey Richardson was truly utilized. That's one that I'll say. We saw it during camp, but I didn't know if it was going to fully translate to Saturdays. But yeah, Caleb Barnett's the main one that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Everything else is pretty much on par.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through. It was kind of like you saw Sid Noor and Miles Capers dominate. We saw that all of camp. You saw the linebackers look really good. That's what we saw all camp. You saw CJ Hurd look good. Marlon Sewell look good. I mean, that's what we saw all camp. Yeah, everything really played out kind of what we saw during camp, outside of the Caleb Barnett stuff and Trey Richardson being a truly utilized weapon in the full route tree, which we did see during fall camp. It's just I didn't know if that was going to be how it was.
I will say I am a little bit shocked at how much they utilized Martell Hyde on offense this game. That was a little bit of a surprise to me. But part of me wonders if like that as well as Caleb Barnett, if they're trying to put stuff on film for teams to notice to play off of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That I'm wondering if they're trying to do that.
From GBarks24, our boy George says, seems like the speed in the receiver room got a nice boost with additions of Richardson and Barnett. How fast did they look in person? Phoebe, stop me, Alan.
She's like, can y'all stop recording?
I
and
will
hang
say
out with me?
Barnett looks quicker than straight line speed fast, but sometimes that's all you need. Richardson just looks explosive. He's like a cat. Like
Trey Richardson might be the fastest player in black and gold I've ever seen in my life.
We said that before the season, and we saw him in fall camp and saw.
I was saying that in fall camp. I'm like, this is the fastest guy to ever put on black and gold.
I'm trying to read through these here. Was it from Who You With VU says, was it Glass that got all 3 holding calls? I'm pretty sure he had at least 2. Can't be pulling that crap in SEC play. One of them was Henderson.
One was McConnell as well.
Yep, and one of them was Glass. So I think Glass probably struggled, quote unquote, the most of the offensive linemen from what I saw.
I would say Cade McConnell.
Yeah, Cade McConnell and Glass, one of those two. But yeah, they weren't all on Glass.
No.
I mean, it was, but it felt like, I don't know. Those felt very ticky-tack to me. That was the main takeaway.
Especially the Henderson one. The Henderson one felt very ticky-tack.
Sorry, I'm kind of reading through these. All right. I think this might be the time with this question to get into this. From Pepperdor says, I read that law enforcement eventually caught up with the Lamd Pavia brother in Lot 2. Curious coincidence there. Can you or your alleged attorney comment on TDR's alleged role in any alleged aiding or abetting of our beautiful Pavia family? So for people that don't know, I personally don't think it's a big deal. Diego Pavia's brothers were arrested after the game. They were drunk, disorderly, resisted arrest. We don't have to dig into all of it. But yeah, they were arrested after the game. I actually was walking out of the stadium and saw them getting arrested after the game.
Same. They were right by our car.
They were just hammered. It was just, they just got to get the alcohol under control. This is not a surprising turn of events. I'll just say that. I love those guys. They stopped by Lot 2. They're great guys.
Yeah. Shout out to Javi and Weish.
Yeah. You don't get it's what we were talking about before. You got, with one side of the coin comes the other side of the coin. If you have that crazy passion, crazy sport, you also got a little crazy on the other side. If you got the people love to use the term, he's got a screw loose in a complimentary aspect. You also get the other side of that coin, that you're going to have some wild and out moments. And that is what it is.
I think it's a kind of big nothing burger.
I think it's a big nothing burger. Right?
Yeah.
I think the last thing those guys want to do is to be a distraction for Diego Pavia.
I mean, Lord have mercy. Avery Johnson's dad and brother just got into a fight. We're not dealing with that. They just had a little too much to drink.
Yeah. And then somebody said, free the Pavia bros. Yeah, that's it for the Virginia Tech question, or the Charleston Southern questions. Anything else you want to add on about the Charleston Southern game here before we go to the TDR cocktail break?
Nope, no, sir.
All right, everybody out there, grab yourself a delicious cold beverage, and we'll be right back to preview the Virginia Tech game after the TDR cocktail break. Welcome back from the TDR cocktail break, and welcome back into episode 331. It is now time for the Virginia Tech preview. Vanderbilt travels on the road to Lane Stadium to Blacksburg, Virginia. Sorry, Phoebe is going insane outside of the screen.
I just looked up and I was like, what is she doing?
Yeah. But Vanderbilt travels on the road for a Power 4 clash in Blacksburg at 6:30 p.m. on the ACC network against the Virginia Tech.
It's on the ACC network?
Yes, it is on the ACC network. Vanderbilt is coming off, of course, a 45-3 victory over Charleston Southern. Virginia Tech is coming off a 24-11 loss to the South Carolina Gamecocks in week 1. A lot to dive into in this one. Very interesting matchup. We all remember how last season played out. It was at 34-27. Vanderbilt won that one in overtime.
Correct.
Very exciting game. Virginia Tech, as Clark Lee said during his press/media availability today, it's a kind of new Virginia Tech team. a lot of similar pieces, but a lot of different pieces, and they're doing some different things on both offense and defense. But the mainstay is Kyron Drones returns. Did not have his best game against South Carolina. I will say that Kyron Drones was 15 of 35 for 221 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a 44 QBR. Kyron Drones also ran the ball 12 times for 26 yards, no touchdowns. Virginia Tech did not score a touchdown the entirety of the game against South Carolina. The biggest loss from this is, or biggest loss from last season for Virginia Tech is Bashal Tootin, who is now in the NFL. He was the engine that made that offense go, and he's gone. So Virginia Tech is looking to Kyron Drones to be their identity on offense. I personally don't know if he has the capability of being a team's identity. I don't want to be harsh. I just haven't seen it. They tried to do it against South Carolina, and frankly, he was not good. He was just not good. That 15 of 35 is boosted a lot by Virginia Tech's very talented receivers. And I've shit on Kyron Drones a bit. Now I'm going to give Virginia Tech fans something to not be shit on about. The Green brothers, who are actually not brothers, but they both have the last name Green. Virginia Tech's wide receivers were damn impressive against South Carolina. Most of Kyron Drones' yardage came on incredible one-on-one catches on the outside in good coverage on not perfectly thrown balls by both Donovan Green, a transfer from Wake Forest, and Aiden Green, a guy that was on Virginia Tech's roster last season. Donovan Green had 3 catches for 94 yards. Aiden Green had 5 catches for 71 yards. In the backfield, Virginia Tech, no longer with Tootin, has Marcellus Hawkins, who carried the ball 15 times for 58 yards, a 3.9 yard per carry average. Also, Jeremiah Coney, 4 carries for 16 yards. Not what they had last year in the backfield. I'm not saying that Hawkins is not talented, but you're trying to replace a guy that was one of the best running backs in all of college football in Tootin. And frankly, it's just an irreplaceable kind of guy. On the defensive side of things, definitely some talent on the defensive side. I would say after watching the Virginia Tech South Carolina game, my takeaway was Virginia Tech's offense looked quite a bit worse than I expected them to look, and their defense looked better than I expected them to look. They looked very athletic, fast. Caleb Woodson, one of their key players, led them in tackles, a linebacker. Quentin Reddish, a safety, also had quite a few tackles in that game. And then on the defensive line, quite a bit of talent on that defensive line. Kamari Copeland leading the charge there for Virginia Tech. Trevor has done quite a bit of research on Virginia Tech, as well as wrote a preview of the Vanderbilt at Virginia Tech matchup that is available on thedoreport.com for free, not just for premium subscribers. So occasionally we do something for the people. Trevor, you did something for the people. So dive into what you think about this Virginia Tech team.
Yeah. So, and I keep repeating myself, but it's like we said, small sample size. And I think it's also important to note that whenever I go over some of these, so I have a Pro Football Focus subscription now because I'm a big advanced stats nerd. I love collegefootballnerds.com. Kelly Ford, I eat that stuff up. I think it's important to remember that whenever we go through these numbers, Vanderbilt played Charleston Southern. Virginia Tech played a top 15 team on a neutral site. So I think we need to take those into consideration whenever we go through their offense, their defensive performance. But yeah, like you said, first off, Kyron Drones just looked bad. There's no other way to put it. I watched that entire game. He does not throw a catchable ball whatsoever, even on slant routes for these little short drag routes. He's not putting any touch in the ball, and he's throwing it like 500 miles an hour. It's not really putting his receivers in advantageous positions to let them make plays after the catch. I have some numbers right here specifically on Drones and Virginia Tech's passing offense. Then I get into their defense. Kyron Drones, his passer rating for the game against South Carolina, he was 64.9%. That was his rating in passing. For a comparison, like I said, Diego Pavia went up against Charleston Southern. Diego Pavia had a 90.2% PFF grade. Now, what I found interesting was based on this game, so you're able to break down Kyron Drones statistics based on what type of play it is. So whether it's play action pass, whether it's a drop back, or whether it's a screen. And I think these numbers are actually fascinating. On play action plays, play action plays, Kyron Drones was 9 of 13 for 118 yards. PFF had him at an 88 passer rating on play action plays. On plays, on plays that were not play action, so dropbacks, they consider RPOs as part of this. He was 6 of 22. 6 of 22 on all passing plays that were not play action plays. That would be an insane cause for concern if I am Virginia Tech, if I am Brent Pry. In terms of Virginia Tech's offensive line, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, South Carolina has a pretty dominant defensive front, especially with Stewart. Stewart didn't really have a great game. He did have 1 sack late, but other than that, didn't make much of a splash. Virginia Tech's offensive line had an average PFF grade in the mid-40s. Now, whenever I say they had a grade in the mid-40s, you would say, oh, well, South Carolina's defensive line must have had a stellar grade in terms of how they were evaluated. South Carolina didn't have a pass rusher with a grade higher than a 73. So, and Dylan Stewart was graded at about a 55. So, didn't really have a great game in terms of like win percentage with one-on-one blocks. I just think Virginia Tech's offensive line really is that bad. Overall, with their offense, like you said, they're not related, but the Green brothers, really tough to defend, made a couple of really sensational one-on-one catches. I will also note their receivers did have a couple of bad drops. Do you want to blame that on the receivers? Do you want to blame that on Kyron Drones not throwing a catchable ball whatsoever? I don't know. I probably lean Kyron Drones not throwing a catchable ball. On their defense, Quentin Reddish, obviously the safety, sort of the leader of that defense. Really, really, really good playmaker, not just in the run game, but in the pass coverage. And then I wrote his name down, but I'm blanking on it. The interior guy.
Kamari Copeland.
He's a dog.
Yep.
Kamari Copeland's a dog. Make no bones about it. I am fascinated to see the Vanderbilt offensive line try and contain him. I think that is a fascinating watch. In terms of their DBs aren't really good. The only guy in their secondary is Reddish. So that's sort of their defense. Copeland, though, when we'll get to Copeland. Copeland's a dog.
Yeah, I would say Virginia. The biggest part of Virginia Tech is their offense was just worse than I expected. For lack of this incredible vocabulary that I should have, they were just worse than I thought they would look. And I know South Carolina has a really locked down defense. They made Vanderbilt's offense look like shit last year.
Yeah.
So
a lot of those guys are gone, though. We will note a lot of those guys are gone.
But just have to say that you have Beamer fired up to be playing against his dad's old coach team, all that stuff. So I'm not willing to just write off Virginia Tech. It's just inept. That's not what we're trying to do.
Yes, that's not what we're trying to do.
South Carolina's a damn good team.
Yes.
Like I just want to restate that. But I will say Virginia Tech's defense and specifically their defensive line did a pretty good job of disrupting South Carolina's offense, especially in the first half of that game. It was a real struggle for South Carolina, Lenore Sellers and Harbor to move the ball and Faison to move the ball. So there is some concern for me regarding how Vanderbilt's going to deal with guys like Copeland in this game. But do you want to just get to our 3 keys here before we get to our prediction? I think we might be kind of talking over our keys.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually. Yeah.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. My key to victory, or my key to the game, whatever. We've been doing this for so long. I still don't know what exactly I'm calling it. My number one key is you have to make Kyron Drones beat you through the air. I definitely stole yours, didn't I? If I am Stephen Gregory, I get crazy with it. I load the box. I don't care if they're running 12, 11. I don't care if they're going 5 wide. I load the box. I'd even maybe do a little single high safety action. Let your DBs play in their corner and let Kyron Drones beat you through the air. Kyron Drones, when pressured, not just blitzing, just when pressured in general, for the South Carolina game, had a passer grade in the mid-30s. Whenever Kyron Drones gets the slightest amount of pressure, and this isn't just for the South Carolina game. I went back and looked at 2024. Whenever Kyron Drones gets the slightest amount of pressure, crumbles, wants to scramble. If I'm Stephen Gregory, if I'm Vanderbilt's defense, if I'm Clark Lee, I load the box every single time, and I make Kyron Drones beat you through the air.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. My key one, you can see it written here, is keep pressure on Kyron Drones and keep him contained. That is the key to the game. That's the key to Vanderbilt's defensive success. You pointed it out. There's no point on me expanding on that. What's your key number 2?
Well, my key number 2 is once again, I'm going to go to the defense, and this might be overlapping with what I just said, especially when it comes to loading the box. But in terms of Vanderbilt's edge rushers, you have to keep Kyron Drones contained. You can't let him scramble. And what I mean by that is you cannot over pursue him and get behind him and let him sort of be in a bubble in the pocket, because then it's going to create spaces for him to sort of leak out through either side or up the middle. If you're Vanderbilt's defensive line, as dumb as this sounds, you have to keep him in front of you. You cannot over pursue and get around him and allow him to leak out and allow him to make these crazy on the run throws or plays or use his legs. Vanderbilt's defensive line has to keep Drones in front of him. Do not over pursue. Do not allow him to scramble.
Yeah, my key number 2, I agree with what you said about loading the box, but what that comes with is probably the most key matchup of the game. That is Virginia Tech's wide receivers against Vanderbilt's unproven secondary. Virginia Tech has talent at wide receiver. You saw it on display against South Carolina. If they're in a one-on-one situation, they can make plays on the ball and make some incredible highlight catches. Vanderbilt's DBs, of course, we all know last season that was Vanderbilt's big Achilles heel, was their secondary and pass coverage. That's a key to the game. Vanderbilt has to control those big shot plays and no blown coverages. We saw that last season in the Vanderbilt-Virginia Tech game. Vanderbilt had a key blown coverage late in the game. This game is going to come down to keeping Kyron Drones contained and keeping pressure on him, and then the Vanderbilt DBs holding up in pass coverage and not allowing those down the field shots. So as basic as it sounds, that's a huge matchup to watch, because I can easily see the Green Bros, even though they're not related, wreaking havoc on this Vanderbilt secondary. So that's my key number 2.
Yeah, my key number 3 is traditionally you use the run to set up the pass. I think if I'm Clark Lee, if I'm Tim Beck, in this game, I'm going to use the pass to set up the run. I think Brent Pry and I think the defensive coordinator of Virginia Tech is going to load the box and try and limit Diego Pavia in terms of his mobility and his escapability and really limit the running backs. I think for Vanderbilt to win and get success early, I think they're going to need to exploit the Virginia Tech secondary early, make them respect the pass, and allow that to open up the run. So if I'm Tim Beck, it might be a little bit counterintuitive to what Vanderbilt's offensive philosophy is traditionally. I let Diego Pavia sling the pill.
I like that. Kind of related to that, my key number 3, which is also very important, keep Pavia upright and give him time to deliver. That is the one small criticism I could have of this team after the Charleston Southern game. There was pressure on Pavia relatively consistently. Pavia performed well under that pressure, but you have to keep this defensive line from Virginia Tech off Diego Pavia. That's not possible the entirety of the game. South Carolina's offensive line maybe not that good, as Trevor's pointed out all offseason, but Lenora Sellers had a lot of pressure on him. And what we saw out of Vanderbilt against Charleston Southern doesn't give me a lot of positivity towards Vanderbilt's offensive line being able to consistently give Pavia a clean pocket, but they have to. And that's what they need to set up the running game. They're going to have success passing the ball, and that's going to mean successful protection of Diego Pavia in the pocket. So that's our 3 keys to the game. Pretty simple. I think nothing crazy. And if I'll throw one in at the end, just because we have to, because we talked about it all last year, win the turnover battle. You got to do that. You got to win the turnover battle and clean up the penalties.
And I think, too, I don't know if it was last week we discussed this or even if we just discussed this off pod, but whenever it seems like, and I would consider this probably a coin flip game. I feel pretty confident for Vanderbilt, but traditionally in like these types of games where it's pretty close, I think the edge, and I think you even said this, the edge typically always goes to the team with the better quarterback. And in this situation, Vanderbilt certainly has the better quarterback.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the line, but this is a coin flip game.
The line is shot down.
Vanderbilt, it opened as Vanderbilt is a 3-point underdog. It is now shifted as money coming in on it as Vanderbilt is a 1-point or a half-point underdog, depending on where you look. Basically a coin flip money line. Vanderbilt at like -105. Virginia Tech at like -115. If you take away home field advantage and put it on a neutral site, Vanderbilt's probably favored slightly. So that's where this game is sitting. It is truly a coin flip game. So that's the perfect lead in to our predictions. Trevor, do you have your prediction written down?
I do. Yeah. So Once again, gold-colored glasses on possibly. I don't know. I feel very, very confident in Vanderbilt's ability to go into Blacksburg and get the win. I think Vanderbilt is a much more talented team. I think they're a better coach team. I think Brent Pry is definitely on the way out of Blacksburg. I have Vanderbilt winning 31-13. I don't trust the Virginia Tech offense at all. I trust Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt offense. I think Vanderbilt goes in there, and I think they handle business. The score doesn't scream blowout, but I think Vanderbilt's in control the entire time.
I'm very positive as well going into this game. I don't think I'm as positive as you. I take a step back and completely take the gold-colored glasses off and just say, how would I evaluate this game if I didn't know much about either team? The number one thing I would look at is quarterback play. And like you said, I think Vanderbilt has better quarterback play than with Diego Pavia than Kyron Drones. I have Vanderbilt winning this one 27-20. I think it's a relatively close game. I think Vanderbilt maybe has a 10-point lead about, halfway through the third quarter. But I think Vanderbilt controls the game for the most part. Now, we don't really know what we have in this Vanderbilt team. We honestly don't really know what you have in this Virginia Tech team. Is South Carolina just that damn good? The PFF grades show maybe not. But we don't really know.
Yeah.
It's still very early. We have an unbelievably small sample size, but it looks like me and Trevor are both going victories for the Vanderbilt Commodores. Trevor with a score of 31-13. Vanderbilt winning, me with a score of Vanderbilt to 27, Virginia Tech 20. Let's go into the premium message board questions and see what we have here.
Let us go.
Let us go. How are the vibes going into week 2 from JRob1742?
Sensational. Week 1 was a Academy Award winning cinematic masterpiece, not just in lot 2, not just in section F, but on the gridiron. Vibes are high. I'm riding high right now.
From Sylvan Park Door says, what specifically gives you all confidence about winning the Virginia Tech game? How many points do the Doors need to win?
Well, I think it's as simple as I would take Diego Pavia over Kyron Drones any day of the week. I think it's that simple. How many points does Vanderbilt need to win? I have them scoring 31. If what we saw Virginia Tech put up against South Carolina is actually like reliable data, I don't think Vanderbilt needs that much. I think Vanderbilt could score 17 to win.
Yeah, I would say Vanderbilt needs 24 to win. That would be my magic number. The confidence is I'm more confident in Diego Pavia than Kyron Drones with a large sample size, not a small sample size based on last year, based on this year. I just don't think – I think the potential of Kyron Drones is better than what he actually produces on the field. I think he checks all the boxes of what you want in a quarterback, but he doesn't necessarily show it on Saturdays. Diego Pavia is the opposite of that. I think he shows you everything you want to see on Saturdays in a college quarterback. Digging through these, we did not touch on the injury situation. That is something we definitely need to talk about. Issa Wataha, probable for the game on Saturday. He was missing and did not play during the Charleston Southern game. That's a big piece to the interior of Vanderbilt's defensive line. Also, a couple names that I don't think people knew were really injured. Cole Spence is questionable going into this Virginia Tech game, a key piece to Vanderbilt's blocking scheme, as well as Junior Sherrill is questionable. Clark Lee stated that he expects both of them to be ready on Saturday. We will see. I think Vanderbilt really, really needs Junior Sherrill in order to be successful against this Virginia Tech team. They need their wide receiver 1 to be available. I'm trying to dig through these. You might have to talk here for a second.
Yeah. I will give a little update on Cole Spence. So obviously Clark Lee said that he thinks he might be ready to go. Got some inside information. Vanderbilt is very hopeful for Cole Spence. If I was Clark Lee, I would almost sit him this week just to get him fresh for South Carolina. I think Cole Spence is a valuable asset to this Vanderbilt offense. I don't know if you need him to beat Virginia Tech, though. I'm very confident in Junior Sherrill playing on Saturday, though.
So Vandy Lens 25 basically asked about your confidence level in Spence playing / Junior Sherrill playing.
I think they both play.
He then goes on to ask part 2, which he says is honestly a better question. How many points does the defense have to hold the opponent to for you to say it's the offense's fault we lost? I know it's a complex question or can be for many different variables, but just at face value, I would say 21.
I was going to say 21 as well.
Yeah, that's if they hold an opponent to 21 points or less and they lose that game, that's on the offense.
I agree.
You got to be able to score
agree.
more than 21 points.
Mhm.
How big of a difference is there between a day game and a night game at Lane Stadium? I feel like we're walking into a hornet's nest. Prize coaching for his job this week from Frida Spas.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've talked on this a little bit in terms of Lane Stadium and Enter Sandman at night. And don't get me wrong, it's an electric place to play. It's hard to play. I am just hard pressed to say that Lane Stadium at night is any more difficult than playing LSU at night, like this Vanderbilt team did last year, playing in Neyland at any time of the day, playing in Jordan Hare at any time of the game, playing down at Bryant Denny any time of the day. I'm very hard pressed to say that Lane Stadium at night is harder than any of these SEC stadiums. I think that Vanderbilt's going to go in, and I don't really think they're going to be phased. I think they have a lot of experience under their belt with raucous crowds.
Yeah, it's a raucous environment. But
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's no stranger to raucous environments.
Yeah.
Let's not act like Vanderbilt plays in the OVC or
Yeah.
something. I mean, they went to LSU in Death Valley at night. I mean, this team knows what it's like to play in front of raucous environments. Clark Lee, as the head coach, knows what it's like to play in front of raucous environments. So, yes, it is going to be a difficult environment to play in. Is it anything this team has not seen before? No.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's where I stand as well.
The last question we have here from Denver Door says, over the years, for the most part, Vanderbilt has never gotten the benefit of the doubt when it comes to close calls from refs. However, for the first time in a long time, we have one of the faces of the SEC in Diego Pavia, and the team has become much more buzzworthy due to last year's success, as well as the Netflix documentary. Do you think that the league sees new value in Vanderbilt winning? And 2, this will result in more 50-50 officiating calls leaning in favor of the Doors?
No, I don't, but I do think it will this weekend. You're an undefeated. I know it's only one week. An undefeated SEC team going on the road to an ACC stadium with an SEC officiating crew. I don't know. It can't hurt. It can't hurt.
You can't be officiated worse than Vanderbilt has been in history.
Yeah.
So it can only go up. Similarly to
That's a great point.
Similarly to when the landscape of college football changed with NIL, and you've heard Vanderbilt fans complaining, and you're like, well, the system of the last 60 years, it really can't get worse than how the system has treated Vanderbilt over the last 60 years. So it can only get better.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about the officiating.
I don't know. I'll also say, and I know totally off topic, but NIL has been incredibly beneficial to Vanderbilt.
Yes, it is.
NIL has been nothing but a blessing to Vanderbilt.
Anything else you want to add here on episode 331 before we close it out?
No, but I think we're going to hit under an hour 30.
Hell yeah. Trevor has the Doors winning 31-13. I have Vanderbilt winning 27-20. I expect a little bit of a closer matchup than Trevor does, but both of us have the Commodores coming out of Blacksburg with a victory. For myself, Will Byrum, and my co-host Trevor Hulan, this has been episode 331 of the Door Report, powered by 615 Collectibles.